Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Thin and the Herd, the show where we are trying to bring information to people who may feel destitute, or might be displaced, or homeless, or just trying to survive, and understanding that if you just believe and you just hang in there, your faith and your hope can provide you with enough time where help can be provided and resources. So, um, today we were talking about anxiety, and our administrator knew that I was a basket case, you know, with anxiety and fear, and I still go with it. But the thing is, after finding out that I was able to overcome, um, I learned dealing mechanisms, and one of those dealing mechanisms is communication. So I want to make sure that I'm positioning this so you can see. You want me to turn it and to make sure you're included because you always have something to offer. Always.
I'll stay off to the side. I'll still offer.
Yeah, I understand.
I'll still offer advice. I can stay off over here. You have to turn it.
Oh, so you don't be on camera. Got it. Got it. I mean, sometimes we don't feel like being on camera for whatever reason. So, I tell you what, we had a lot of good information. If you would be so good as to share the information that you have today.
The anxiety says, it's your mental and physical reaction to perceived threats, But too much anxiety, when it occurs too frequently, it becomes debilitating to where, you feel like stuff, you don't want to go outside.
Right.
Or nothing like that. So this is what we're learning. You're talking about this is what we're learning today, right?
Yeah, it's really good.
Symptoms of anxiety says is uncontrollable worry. That's hard to get over with. Poor concentration, excessive nervousness, increased heart rate, sleep problems, upset stomach. And these are symptoms of anxiety. And from what I've learned about anxiety, is you're trying to control something outside of your realm of control.
Right.
You only have a short realm of control during your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. Anything outside of that causes tension and contention if you allow it to.
It's very frustrating trying to control something that you really can't control.
You can't control it. You can't control nothing but yourself. And that's where anxiety sets in.
And even that's a challenge sometimes, controlling yourself, having self-control.
Well,
that can be a challenge.
You can always control yourself to a certain degree and certain level.
To some degrey.
Yeah. Some people's degrees are different than others. They
Everybody's
get angry.
unique.
I mean, I heard that the president, President Clinton, he used to get so mad his whole face would turn blue while he's arguing at his cabinet or something like that.
That's deep. That's deep. And people can see that. That's in there.
That's whole nose and everything turned red.
Right.
He didn't know how to reflect his anger.
Yeah.
He just let it go.
And probably wasn't nobody around to put that makeup on like when you do press conferences.
No.
So everybody knew, this is boiling point because we can visit.
Well, he don't do it. He didn't do it in public. He did in his room, in his secret room.
Yeah.
You don't want people to know that that's the kind of person he is anyway.
Yeah.
He says there's types of anxiety too. They got generalized anxiety. That's an excessive amount of anxiety or worry in severe areas of life, such as job, responsibilities, health, finances, or minor concerns. Like a minor concern could be like, well, if I go out of my house right now and try to walk to the store, somebody might try to rob me. So I'm not going to go out there and get robbed, so I become debilitated. I don't go out and get what I need to get because of fear.
Or the possibility.
Right, or the possibility of something happening. That's where my anxiety kicked in. And then it says you have phobias. Which is a very intense fear of specific situations or objects, which is out of proportion to its actual threat.
Right.
I mean, you're blowing the mountain, making a mountain out of a molehill. You're adding your thoughts. You run away.
It's not that big a deal, but
your thoughts. It's not what they are. It's a big deal. What's the big deal is how you perceive them.
Right.
It's how you perceive. What they're doing is no big deal. It's how you perceive what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you can change your perception, and it won't bother you.
You know what I take away from this is the necessity to deal with things, because one thing is about life. One thing that's predictable about life is always going to be something that you cannot predict. So you can expect things to happen. So the big takeaway I take from this is when these things happen and something's beyond your control, how are you going to deal with it?
You're going to admit that it's beyond your control and control the thing first, and then control the things that you can, which is yourself, which is your reaction, your thoughts and your feelings towards what's going on. You can control those fully.
And I think, like what you just said, knowing this, it puts you in a position to have more control, to first face, okay, I don't have no control over how this person act, how this person react, because everybody has a free will. But you can face that fact and then say, okay, how can I make the best out of this situation?
Should I walk away?
Yeah.
Should I add something that may bring clarity to what's going on?
Right. Now, it's options.
Yeah, you have options.
Yeah.
You gotta look at your options before you have to, the aggression. I had taken some aggression therapy, and it talked about channeling your anger.
Right.
So I'm angry at the housing authority right now, but I'm not going down there every day and showing my anger to the people that can't help me.
Right.
I'm going through the Department of Human Services, or not Human Services, but Urban Housing.
Right.
What do they call these people? HUD.
Yeah.
They control you. That's where I'll make my complaint at.
Right.
I'm not going to act out. I'm putting it on paper.
So acting out is usually a display of emotion.
Yeah.
Okay, so by displaying emotion, it can be counterproductive to what you're trying to actually achieve or what you might need.
Right. It distract you from your true purpose.
Yeah.
You're not controlling your emotions, so it distracts you from the objective.
Right. The goal, the objective.
The objective.
Well, let me ask you, do you recall any methods that you used whenever you felt angry or frustrated, because they're all related, that helped you to control those emotions?
I do something. I send an email to the person that you know, hey, this is the issue, or to your supervisor.
Right.
I'll do something to relieve that immediately. Like send an email, bam, that's done. I've done something. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
Until I get a reply. Then when I get a reply, I handle it again.
Were you always able to do that, or was it a point where you got better at it?
I always get better.
Yeah.
I always get better at it.
Yeah.
If you don't practice with practice, you get better.
That's right.
So practice, practice makes, they say perfect, but that's a lot of practice.
Yeah, right. So even practicing your thought process, like my dad said something everybody else said, but I really respected my dad because he just was a smart, good guy, right? He would say, count to 10. But my father would go further and just say count to 10. And he said, look, and I was young, and he explained to me, he said, you'll find this. When you get angry or mad and you want to really act out, and you probably will, he said, if you take a few seconds and don't react, but just take a few seconds, you will find that whatever it was that made you angry, it don't make you quite so angry after just taking some time. So it's like a few seconds could make all the difference in the world between you getting into a fight, between you killing somebody or somebody killing you. That's a big deal right there. And he took the time, to explain that. See, a lot of times we all might need to have something broken down to us, but emotion can stop you from even wanting to hear anything. So I don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it. I'm not trying to hear that. Yeah.
But it makes a big difference when you have it in your mind, you know what? I'm not going to give up doing this. You know what I'm saying? I committed to it. I'm going to try to do it. I might fall down. Stuff might not turn out the way I want, but at least I tried. I gave it my best effort.
Right. That's what Biden was talking about, huh? Before he switched over, he said, "As long as I do my best, I'm okay." That's what he said, huh?
Words of wisdom, rational words of wisdom. That to me, this is not talking about personalities. It's just talking about history. Being rational when you're in a position of authority is the opposite of being a dictator, where you do whatever you want, no matter what, just because that's what you want to do. And as a matter of fact, the more somebody tries to get you to maybe not act irrationally, the more you want to do what you want to show them you can't tell me what to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's cool.
So no one can control you but you.
Yeah, you know. So I guess we got to be careful about who we give ultimate control to.
For sure.
Huh.
For sure.
So our point of discussion in what is pre-production for me was talking about anxiety, and anxiety becomes an emotion, a feeling. And I have a personal theory that it is known how what we think and how we feel affects our whole physiology, our body, our heart rate, which affects our blood flow, our muscles, because we get anxiety, we get tension, we can freeze up, our muscles can basically just stop working. You know, all based on what's going on in our mind.
And I was talking about that because, I was looking at my scripture, Ephesians 6:12. It says, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this earth, against spiritual wickedness in high places." It's not people we're going up against. We got to understand that.
Ultimately,
it's a system.
Yeah.
It's a system. So, basically, that's just a system. You got to accept it as such and fight against it with using your
and see,
resources.
Because even the Romans had like a certain philosophy, but this is deeper than that. Here's the overstanding of the wisdom to let you know. Instead
that person in front of you is not what you're arguing with.
Exactly. And that's normally what you get emotional about, what you see and hear.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
So it's saying it's principles, the principalities and all those things that are creating these laws and these
that's situations. The power. That's the pause. That's the pause. To like, remember, wait a minute. This person is doing this in the here and now.
Right. I'll text you.
But you can wrestle with that flesh and blood all you want to.
Right.
And don't come to no good conclusion. But if you take the time to think, okay, look, instead of wrestling, it's all kind of ways to wrestle. We just say, don't mean physical.
To wrestle with, in your mind.
Yeah. And you're wrestling, you're battling, you're going back and forth. Yeah. Take a pause, which can be like that couple of seconds. Yeah.
What is the issue?
It's principality. So now if I focus on the principalities,
it's just run by laws, then you have to go to the law.
And it's an energy. Because like laws and stuff put on paper is an energy. Like money has an energy that you give to it because it's used to trade and barter.
Right.
All right? So if you think about the source of wherever this problem is,
the source, the principality,
and take your mind off the wrestling with the physical, then maybe you can you know what, I think I'm just going to let this person vent. The person that you might have been mentally wrestling with, I'm just going to let this person express themselves.
And if they're doing something wrong, I'm corrected by the law. I'm not corrected by my voice with them or arguing with them. If you're doing something against a regulation, a rule or regulation, that's a principality. That's what rules it, the rules and regulations. So this person isn't the problem. It's the rules and regulations that they're following that's the problem.
Exactly.
You have to go through the rules and regulations and see if they're following those rules and regulations. If they're not, then you catch them.
That's more intelligent. That's more rational.
Well, it's basically how you do things.
It's the best way to do it, because sometimes we react without looking at the principles, and that's where the word principality comes from, principles, which are standards that are set. Normally, it's standards that everybody can comprehend. That's the difference between just actually having a rule. You can have a rule that nobody understands. It's like, okay, don't walk across the street when the light is red. Okay, that's a rule. But now the principle of the rule is it is hazardous because there's other factors that are crossing this road, possibly obeying the principle of the rule, and you can get hurt or harmed
by going against the principle.
By going against it, by not understanding.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, let's just say a parent, just for example, might accidentally give a rule which is necessary, but maybe the child or even the student, and then there's the teacher that gives a rule, but if the student or the child or the public doesn't understand the principle of the rule, then they might say, well, that's a dumb rule because they don't understand. And this is part of my theory, it's other people that will agree. Law is not taught in middle school or high school. Safety is taught, but law is not taught. But we are told that ignorance of the law, that's no excuse. But they don't teach it. Well, law is also a business. And when you got principalities in high places,
wicked spirits in high places.
Yeah.
Wicked spirits in high places mean they're twisting the law to go about.
But everybody that's in a high place is not wicked. I'm just saying. Everybody is not
Some
wicked.
people go against the law. Some people in high places go against the law.
But my point is, a lot of times, enough of times, somebody is in a position of authority, and their personal goal is not to help people and what helps everybody. They might have their own agenda. It's like what they want to do.
It's contrary to what the law gives them the right to do.
What the whole purpose of law is, because God was the first person to introduce the whole term law into society.
And he set up the system of law with Moses.
You know,
he set it up 10 to 20 to have to go down through the system.
Right. Now, controllers, this is what I'm point. Controllers might understand it, but they don't care. They want to do what they want to do.
They want to twist it.
Yeah.
They want to twist it to fit their needs.
So it's not advantageous for them to teach people the principles of the law. It's just, here's the rules. So therefore, nobody would even be able to contest. In a democracy, as opposed to a sovereign, like kings and queens, all right? In a democracy, the population has a say about what might be an unfair law or unfair rule, because some people can come up with rules and they're in a position to make that rule become a law, but it's really to help them as individuals. But a democracy, one of the principles is, the theory is, if everybody has a say about the laws and the lawmakers, you stand a better chance at identifying what might be an unfair law.
It's like Judge Thomas is doing. What's his name?
Clarence
Thomas is doing. I mean, he's going against affirmative action, but he used affirmative action to get where he's at. But he's ruling against affirmative action for anybody else to have.
Because what's most important to him, most likely, is where he want to go, not
or blocking you from getting to where he's at.
Because that interferes with what he wants, as opposed to what the community needs.
But it's the principality, not the person. He's a spirit in high places. He's the one spirit in high places that controls the law.
Yeah.
And they made, like they did, immunity to Donald Trump for what he did while he was in office. That's not a good ruling. But if they ruled on it, it's a law now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Thomas, so look, you got it. They're leaning towards the Republican. All of the Republicans now, except for 3 or so. There's 9 of them.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a majority vote on the other side,
Yeah.
no matter what it is.
But see, I totally agree. To me, what the fear is, the absolutes. Accepting what somebody says who's in power and authority, and keeping them in power of authority because they might not understand the principle. Somebody's principle might be for a private agenda. Their principle is, I want the most I can get, I want the most control, and I don't, like you said, I don't want to help anybody to stop me from getting what I want.
You put him in there and he thinks he's, like you put yourself in the position of God. Of
Yeah,
doing.
Exactly.
Exactly. But God knows better. We know better.
Right.
Yeah, that those things are going to fail. That's why they're coming at him so tough.
But you got the God side, and then you also got the evil side.
Well, God brings the sun to shine and rain on the good and the evil. So he shines on the good, he shines on the evil, he rains on the good, he rains on the evil.
But if we don't recognize that there's both good and evil, then we will ignore the evil and treat the evil like they're the good. So whatever the evil says, it goes, this person's in a position. That's one of the core differences in a democracy and a sovereign, or a dictatorship, is acknowledging
a sovereign state
that everybody ain't good. Everybody don't care about the population.
No.
The economy of good and evil. So,
the economy of, what do you call it?
Dichotomy.
Dichotomy. That's the Stoic principle.
Yeah. So, it's important to me that no matter who you are, on what level you are, what your social status is, or the position, two things. You have a free will, and you are important. Spiritually, you're important because no human being actually created another human being. We can make something, but that's different from creating it. And until we can create a literal biological brain that can reproduce itself and self-sustain itself, we are created. And when we start treating human beings as they are gods, or allow them to continue to act like demigods, we are contributing to a principle that is the opposite of a democracy or even a republic. Because a republic is a representative government based on democracy. It all goes together. So by not understanding the principles.
The principle of democracy is that our state is governed by laws. That's the principle.
That's the rule. The principle is when the whole, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, all have a say, that means that there's a regulatory principle in where because no human being is perfect. So when an unjust law appears, then you have freedom of speech. You have freedom of the press. Press is just not the news.
You got freedom of redress too.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can get redressed. You can file an appeal.
That's a part of the differences of democracy. Now, somebody in a high place could have they could have the mental personal principle of we don't want the people to know that they have a say. We want them to feel like they have to do whatever we say, and they could plant seeds like, ain't no need to vote because all the leaders is already chosen. Okay, even if that's the fact, by a law in place that says that you have to vote somebody in, and the principle is there's going to be a non-violent, peaceable way to exchange the leadership. If people don't believe in that core and they believe, well, we just got to do whatever they say.
That was like Martin Luther King and the trash truck owners, the guys that were doing the trash truck.
Yeah,
he went in there. He was trying to get more wages for the black trash truck drivers.
Because they was discriminating.
That's when they killed him. Yeah, that's when they killed him after that speech. The
yeah.
day before they had the hearing.
Right.
And they won.
You see.
And they did not like that. They didn't like the fact that he was against the war, so the president stopped talking to him and he started talking against the war. I remember. And then now they do this other thing. You know what I'm saying? You guys are paying white. Oh wow, well, paying these guys more than you're paying these guys.
Yeah.
So we want the same. We want the same rights. We want the same everything that we have. You know what I'm saying?
To show my imperfection, I'm going to dare to say something that's not popular. See, in using your intellect and understanding, it was really something you said. You only had control of yourself.
Right. The economy of control.
Yeah. Now, this is a part of my theory, and I'm doing it in justice because I don't really have time to go into it in detail, but I'll sum it up. See, this is what I believe. I don't have the authority, and it's a waste of time for me to go to the White House and say, look, I demand that Congress hear me, without going through the chain of command, without writing up what I want to say, right?
Going through the process.
Going through the process. So it's possible for somebody with good intentions to step out of their lane. It's not my lane to walk up to the White House and demand to come into the White House. I ain't talking about going on a tour. I'd be stepping out of my line. Now, the White House and everybody else might benefit from what I have to say, but they can't do that. Everybody, it's like everybody got an opinion, just like everybody got something else, right? That would lead to chaos. So there has to be a process. So now, this is what I'm saying that probably won't be popular. I have it in my thesis, but only my professor saw that. If a minister fighting for social justice and teaching decides that they can tell the chief of the military, don't do this because I say so, that leaves that person open. And this is one thing that happened. Information was being fed to Martin Luther King. Now here's some principalities and stuff. Information about how disproportionately they were sending black soldiers to the front line.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you
now,
about that.
Yeah, now that affected his emotion. It affected my emotion. It affected the emotion of the family members.
It affected the president's emotion. The president thought he was bad for doing it, for saying that.
You see?
He stopped talking to him.
Okay, so now people
at the time, I forget that president's name. I'm forgetting.
Johnson.
Was it Johnson?
Yeah. So now, if that person's emotions is now affected the president, and he's like, look, this guy has a platform. He received a Nobel Peace Prize. So he's going to be respected because that's a global thing. All right. So his uncreative way, his ungodly way to stop this, instead of going through a process, he could have went through a process where he explained the Vietnam War. I'm just saying, I'm not condoning it. I'm saying he could have went through a process and explained, or have other people explain why right now we just can't stop. I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't. I'm just saying the process. That's what you said. There's a process. So if I try to break down the doors of the Capitol building because I feel a certain way, and I'm able to lead 500 people to break down the doors of the Capitol, and we might have to kill somebody.
It's not going to change nothing.
And that's not the process. That's illegal.
Right.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So we can't forget about these things. And there's pressures for the public, especially young people, uneducated people, to not understand. When you got somebody leading like Hitler, I didn't say no names. And it wasn't even my intention to infer anything. But that's a particular dictator. Nero was a dictator. Caesar was a dictator, even though they had a Senate. All right? If this person can get a lot of people to break the law, go someplace, kill somebody to make their point, now they're violating human rights and constitutional rights. A dictator can say, fuck the Constitution. My people.
I am the Constitution.
I'm the Constitution. That sounds like the behavior of an antichrist. I'm now the world leader. Let me do some magic to show you. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's going back to the difference between rules, principles, and principalities.
What makes him? What would make him? What you call him? An antichrist? What would make him an antichrist is when they don't follow the steps of Christ. So if it's wrong, it's wrong. Because if you're not following the steps,
the prediction is you're beheaded. You're beheaded.
You're not following his steps. You're not following the steps, and you're not being Christ-like. So you're anti-Christ. You're against what he's doing. It's just a strange. It's a strange concept, but it's
my father
weird.
taught me, above all things, first try to get a good understanding. It's the difference between knowing something and understanding it.
It says slow to speak.
You know.
It says quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath.
Yeah. That's good.
Quick to hear.
So a lot of these things cause anxiety. I'm summarizing. Dialogue is very important. That's why freedom of speech is very important. Everything has to have some rules and regulations because
It'd be chaos.
Yeah. If you don't have an understanding why we need to have freedom of speech,
why we need to have police? You understand why we need to have police?
But about but that's
we gotta have them. We gotta have them.
You see what I'm saying? That's the duality. It's not productive and it's dangerous for somebody to be able to say anything. If you're in a movie theater and you jump up and say, I have the freedom of speech, so I'm going to say, fire everybody! And then people get stomped and get killed like the way Diddy did that thing, in the college. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He didn't go by no regulations. He kept selling. He even had advertising after he had sold out the number of capacity. He was like, well, we can print up some more tickets. Let's keep making this money. Then people end up dying. People end up dying at the Capitol.
Concert?
At the concert. You see what I'm saying? They have rules about capacity because it's dangerous when you overcapacitated. It makes you incapacitated because now can't nobody move. That's the end result. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So freedom of speech also have rules and regulations. Some of it is common sense. All right? Yeah. Some of it is complicated. But people who have their own agenda, they don't care about somebody learning right from wrong. They just want to do what they want to do. Oh, so that's just about our time. I want to thank you very much because personally, I've been doing this from the inception. Doing this with you has enlightened me. I got very excited because I know you use the Bible. I mean, you use knowledge about law and your common sense, but your foundation is the scriptures. Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you got something out of it. And remember, you are important. Whoever you are important. And God can lift up somebody no matter where you are. Because there's a difference between humans, leaders, and the Creator. Thanks a lot. Peace out, people.